So welcome to today's Soulful Women's in Business call, and Happy New Year, ladies, if I haven't yet been able to give you those well wishes. It is the 15th of January, 2025. I think that's only the third time I've said that. It is blowing my mind every time I say 2025. Time is rushing by so rapidly. I really want to share a beautiful concept with you today, but it's going to be a very crash course version. So I want to share a very powerful methodology with you that I've learned in different ways throughout the past 12 years of my life. It has been incredibly transformational as a woman. In fact, I would say probably one of the most pivotal wisdoms that I've been able to incorporate into my personal development. And what I'm going to share with you today is literally a 6-week course condensed into 1 hour. So let's see how we go with that. I'm going to try and bring just the very simple concepts to you. What we're going to be talking about today is heart-brain coherence. Give me one in the chat if you've ever heard something along those lines, or you know what heart-brain coherence is. When I first heard it expressed in that language, I was really intrigued. I'm like, oh, heart-brain coherence. That's something that feels really good in my body when I say that. So what heart-brain coherence is it is uniting or integrating the energy of the mind, the body, and the spirit. And it's when our thoughts and our intentions and our actions seamlessly align. Now, as the feminine, how good does that feel in your body? It's the ease, grace, and flow. You know, when you hit a flow point and life just feels effortless, it's like breathing. That's what heart-brain coherence is. And not only does it have powerful effects on our mental health, our emotional health, our stability, our resilience and resourcefulness, which of course is so important in relationships, as mothers, and in our businesses, right? But it also has a huge impact on our physical health. And heart-brain coherence is like a muscle. It's something that you can train yourself to live more from that beautiful state, which is what I like to call it, the beautiful state. So I want to ask you a question, and I'd love for you guys to be interactive with me here, but what is possible for you? What could open up for you if you had more resilience in your day-to-day life? What could open up for you? Let me know in the chat. Who has some courage? What could open up for you in your business if you had more resilience? That when you hit those challenge points, they didn't take you out of the game. You're able to bounce back up quickly. More opportunities, more growth. What about in your relationships? If you had more emotional sovereignty, which means that you need nothing outside of yourself, what would open up in your relationships? What would open up in your relationship to yourself if you could live from this peaceful, aligned, beautiful state? Connection, calm, inner ease. Who would love more inner ease in their life? 10 years ago, 12 years ago, however long ago it is now, I lived with a consistent state of internal friction. And it's little wonder that there was so much chaos outside of me in my reality, because that was a mirror to the internal chaos that I was experiencing on a daily basis. I had so much noise in my head and I lacked resilience. So my inner battery was constantly running on empty. Who can relate? Now, when we can create more resilience or more internal capacity, we give ourselves more energy reserves to draw from. But what happens when our inner battery is drained? When you feel emotionally drained, what happens in your world? I know for me, I'm more reactive, right? With my kids, I'm more reactive in my business. I might have a moment where I'm like, screw this, I'm out, I'm done. Who's had one of those moments from reaction? I have women it hasn't happened many times, but like cancel their business in an instant, right? When you have this business gets to be in the background or the foreground, it can change day to day. It's not something you have to remove, right? Maybe you've removed or said things to people in your world that you've later regretted. It felt really good in the moment, but it wasn't good for later. We make more mistakes. We feel more fear. We feel overwhelmed. We might go into freeze mode, and we become far more self-critical when our inner battery is low. What are the kind of things that drain your inner battery? Let me know some things in the chat. Some daily, day-to-day things that we are faced with, because this is what's inevitable. There are things that are consistently outside of your control that are going to piss you off, right? That aren't going to align with your values, that aren't going to go your way, that are going to feel really frustrating, like arguments you didn't want to have, traffic jams that you weren't able to foresee and you took the wrong turn, lines at the grocery store. I used to be the most impatient human being on the planet, and because I couldn't sit with myself. So imagine having to wait in a line and just sit with myself, right? That wasn't a fun space to be in. When we get stuck worrying, when we get stuck in comparison in this business, or even worse, I think, when we are consistently judging others. A great test for whether you are very critical and judgmental is the social media test. What runs through your mind as you click people's stories? You want to get to a place where you are authentically only sending love and light to people and acceptance. Doesn't mean you have to take on people's values, but you can be happy for others. You can be happy for women who are winning, who win differently to you. So when your inner battery is charged, how does that affect your ability to think more clearly, to make rational decisions? How much more likely are you to make decisions that feel good now and that are good for later? You speak differently in arguments. You handle situations and challenges differently, right? I love that word. Dysfunction becomes functional. Reaction becomes responsive. It's having enough energy to catch yourself in the space between the stressor and the reaction so that you can respond resourcefully. And that's called inner pause. So what we want to do as women, as powerful, self-led, independent women, is we want to learn to plug the energy leaks in our life. We want to learn to build on our emotional regulation. And these are absolutely key if you want to expand your energetic capacity. Now, why would you want to expand your energetic capacity? You're doing okay where you're currently at. Life is all about growth and evolution. Your spirit is not fulfilled standing still. You're here to expand and grow consistently. You're here to evolve. And evolution means expansion. And our life will only be as big as our nervous system can hold. So if we are fragile, like I was 10 years ago, my life was very, very small. I needed things to look a certain way. I needed people to show up a certain way, which put a lot of pressure on my relationships. I was constantly shaming friendships that didn't show up in accordance with my values because I didn't understand that people can live different sets of values and still, you guys can still love each other and be friends. And you can have different opinions and different perspectives. I needed people to show up in a certain way in order for me to feel at peace and happy. That is a very fragile way to live life. It's a very small life. Travel, the thought of it feared me because travel is the best time to test your nervous system. Everything is outside of your control when you're traveling around the world, right? And these are things that I can do now and hold myself so powerfully in. Hold others' perspectives powerfully along with my own without wobbling, without criticizing, without judging. I've been able to expand my nervous system, and my world, my business, my relationships have expanded to match. So heart coherence is like taking the blindfold off that you didn't know you had on. Many of the years that I lived with that inflexibility and that self-suffering, I didn't know. what I didn't know. I wasn't conscious yet to it. Have you ever had an argument with someone and you were so fixated on your perspective and you were so self-righteous on your perspective? It was a blindfold that you had on. And then when you actually zoomed out and gave that person a moment to share their perspective, you let love in. You let light in. And when you let light in, the darkness dissipates. Sometimes we think we need more words, more communication, more this, more that. All we need to do is let the light in. And in that moment of light, of coherence, your frustration dissolved because now you had a wider perspective. You could hold that person's intentions. You could hold that person's experience. Have you ever had a moment like that? Do you know what I'm talking about? So we're going to talk about moving from depletion to renewal and how to keep your inner battery charged. And this is so important for women because our energy is so influential in our home. So influential. If we are cranky and anxious and reactive, everybody in the home is tiptoeing around us. Our partners feel like failures, which do not expand them into a feeling of being and acting and serving like a king. It tends to drive them to do the opposite. We teach our children emotional dysregulation and dysfunction if we're not modeling how to regulate. There's so many profound impacts of learning this beautiful self-awareness and self-regulation. And I really want to put an emphasis on the keeping part, keeping your inner battery charged. Who would love to live with more energy every single day? We only have so much energetic capacity every single day. And so what we want to do first is bring our awareness to what our current set point is, what we're currently spending our energy on, and then choosing where we want to invest our energy wisely. And I want you to think of your energy like a credit card. Every single day, we only have so many funds. And there are thoughts and emotions that we spiral into and get stuck in that are our habitual emotional set points that are consistently swiping our credit card and reducing our funds. But there are also emotions and feelings that are renewing, that not only stop the depleting of funds, they actually add to our funds. They have compounding interest. They expand our energetic capacity. Who would love to know how to actually create more, not just live in a beautiful state, but to have more love, more excitement, more fulfillment, more peace, more calm? So when you have a really, really stressful day and you get stuck spiraling, for me, it was negative thinking, a really full mind. That was my favorite flavor of depleting energy, overthinking. Have you ever stopped to think about what this does to your body? How it affects your performance in your business? How it affects how you're showing up in your relationship? There is a flow-on effect to how we think and feel. There are hormones that are triggered in how we think or feel that have an effect in our body for hours. So they either deplete us faster or they renew us faster. So today I'm going to introduce a really quick tool for understanding how your emotions are affecting your physiology. I'm going to share with you a very quick 1-minute technique where you can turn around stressful reactions in an instant, and how you can identify those unnecessary energy expenditures so that you can make those wiser investments with your focus, because what we focus on expands, right? And as I said, this has completely transformed my life, and I hope that you will be a self-led woman and that you will utilize this tool, because it only holds the power if you use it, right? So the first step before we dive into it is self-awareness. The first step to transformation is seeing and owning where you are contributing to the challenges in your life. So much of the suffering that I used to live with, that internal chaos, was self-made. We can't always control what happens to us or what our past looks like, but we always get to control how we respond to it and what we do with it, and whether it becomes our medicine and our message or the thing that we get trapped spiraling in. But we're not able to heal what we refuse to see. We're not able to heal what we do not know. So in this call, you're going to have some moments of enlightenment. And once you know it, you cannot unknow it. So it's up to you what you do with it from there. But self-regulation starts with self-awareness. And of course, the goal is to never have depleting emotions and thoughts again. I get frustrated. I get reactive as a mom. School holidays, trying to work, 4 kids in the house, right? I get dysregulated internally. I'm by no means perfect. But the goal is to catch yourself in self-awareness and turn around that momentum in the shortest time possible. Instead of spending hours spiraling, instead of spending days where you take yourself out of your business because of your emotional dysregulation, you're able to catch yourself and turn that momentum around quickly. Self-awareness and seeing how you are perpetuating the self-suffering in your life gives you back your power. It gives you the power to turn around that inner friction. So we're going to make a group commitment as we dive in to operate from our higher selves today. And I'm going to encourage you to be willing to see what you need to see in order for an elevation to occur. If you're feeling pissed off at your partner, if you're feeling frustrated with your business, if the kids are annoying the shit out of you, like whatever it is, and I'm using strong language because sometimes we feel strongly, I want you to think of a challenge that you are currently feeling in your life, an inner friction, something that is causing you resistance. And I'm going to hold you accountable to a higher standard where you're going to see how you are contributing to that resistance. And I hope by the end of this call, that truth will land in your heart and that you can experience some heart coherence in that area, an expanded perspective where you let love in so that you have the answers on how to move from here. So I'm going to share my screen with you. All of the above. Yeah, me too. All right. Can you guys see that okay? Let me just move this bar because it's annoying me. All right, so this is the depletion to renewal grid, and this illustrates how different emotions are either depleting or renewing in our body and how they affect our physiology, okay? So I want your help with this one. This is a research-based tool to help with your self-awareness, and it illustrates the relationship between typical emotional responses that we have, the intensity that we feel them up at. So whether we're leaning in and dialing up the intensity or whether we're dialing that intensity down, but also how that affects the autonomic nervous system, our hormones, our energy, our performance, and our resilience. And I want to share a little bit on the hormones specifically today, because as women, and a lot of this team are in the 35 plus age bracket, moving into perimenopause and beyond. And hormone health is absolutely crucial with self-regulation and the journey that we are on with our hormones. So let's break this down. I've never done this before, but I'm going to try and type in the box. Yes, I think it's going to work for me. All right. So if you look at this vertical line here, can you guys see my arrow when I move it like that? Awesome. So this vertical line here represents your autonomic nervous system, or your automatic nervous system. And this governs 90% of your internal functions. So when you think about all of the processes that are key for survival, breathing, heart beating, digestion, you don't have to think in order for these to function. Then what you have is the sympathetic branch of your ANS. And this is where you experience an increase in your heart rate. And then we have the parasympathetic, where you experience a lower heart rate or relaxation. Now, the horizontal line here represents your hormone responses in relation to those activations in your emotions. So cortisol gets a really bad rap. We do actually need cortisol, okay? It's our stress hormone. If we are in a state of fight or flight, if there is something in our environment that requires us to respond effectively in order to stay safe in some way, mentally or physically, we need cortisol to go up. And what cortisol does is it increases our blood sugar to give us the energy to respond, okay? But the challenge is we live in a world where we're living in these depleting emotions and attitudes consistently throughout the day, and cortisol stays really high. And there's a flow-on effect to that happening. Now, the flow-on effect is when cortisol is high, it down-regulates the function of all other hormones. So estrogen, our vitality hormone, oxytocin, our happiness hormone, progesterone, our anti-anxiety hormone. These get down-regulated when cortisol is high because your body is prioritizing the fight or flight response because it thinks that you are in a state of emergency. Now, on the other side of this chart, in our renewing emotions that charge our battery, we have DHEA, and that is a vitality hormone, along with oxytocin, which I talk about a lot as well. And this also has a flow-on effect. When we experience renewing emotions, it drives up DHEA, and that hangs around in our blood system, our bloodstream, for 2 to 3 hours as well. So it is expanding on our energy, right? So let's have a look at the left side here, depleting emotions that have a higher heart rate. Something that you really feel, and some of these feelings are a lot quieter than others. So we're going to talk about the louder emotions. What emotions are loud? They raise your heart rate, and they're really depleting. Let me see if I can bring the chat up here so I can see. So let me know in the chat. For some reason, none of my functions are working. Oh, here we go. I got it. Anger, yes. Sadness, anxiety, yes. You guys are on the right track. Anger, sadness, yes, frustration, anxiety. What else have we got in the chat here? Apathy. So apathy, and by the way, we all relate to these differently. So I really want to honor each of you. Fear, definitely. For me, apathy would probably be on the lower quadrant, where it's depleting, but it has a lower heart rate attached to it. But for you, Shona, apathy might actually increase your heart rate because maybe it increases your anxiety, right? When you know that you're apathetic, and then it starts a spiral of anxiety because you should be forward moving, you should be inspired, you should be on track, right? Grief, definitely. And again, for some of you, that would be a higher heart rate. For some of you, that would be a lower. So let's come down to the lower depleting emotions now. They're a little bit more quiet. They can be a little bit more in the background. And so we don't realize that they are slowly but ever so surely depleting our system. So what are some negative emotions or attitudes that you experience that maybe have a lower heart rate, but they're depleting, they're swiping the credit card each day? Boredom. Oh, I love that one. That used to be my favorite flavor. Complaining, definitely. Complaining is draining. Disappointment. If I spell things, oh, definitely spelt that one wrong. Comparison. Procrastination, absolutely. All right, this typing is not a vibe. It's really challenging to figure it out. So I'm just going to read your things. Procrastination, self-doubt, absolutely. Oh, self-doubt is that background noise that can consistently be there, draining our energy resources. Now, here we go. Negativity, yes. Depression is another one. Depression is one of those low vibe, lower frequency emotions. What else? Any others? So let's go to the upper left now. These are emotional responses that are renewing, but they undernourished. I love that one, Denise. So these are renewing, but they also have a higher heart rate attached to them. So they're not necessarily sustainable, right? Because what goes up comes down, but they are renewing. They do add to our energy reserves. So what are some good ones that have a high heart rate, but they're renewing feelings? Excitement. Absolutely. Love. Some states of love would have a high heart rate and some would have a lower heart rate attached. Joy, absolutely. Curiosity, love these words. Enthusiasm, happiness, fun, passion, inspired, achievement. Yes, I love that one. Delight, confidence, courage, accomplishment. Beautiful. These are big emotion words. And then if we go to the lower heart rate, but on the right-hand side, renewing, what are some of the quieter emotions and attitudes that have a beautiful inner ease to them? A consistent renewing feeling, a sustainable renewing feeling, relaxation, desire, fulfillment, calm, contentment. Oh, I love these. Peace, gratefulness, compassion, relaxed, ease. Who was feeling stressed out when we were just talking about the left-hand side? Do you know, just thinking drives up cortisol. Flow. Now that we're on the right-hand side, who already feels their heart rate coming down? It's like, oh, you're just like more relaxed in your body. All right, I'm going to stop sharing screen so I can see you guys and talk to you guys properly. I need to stop thinking so much then. Yes. That's always my greatest challenge, is to be more present. I live in my head. I always have. It's always been my greatest challenge. Wow, I didn't know that thinking can be a cortisol releaser. Absolutely. Our body doesn't know the difference between reality and thought. So, and I don't know how to talk about this eloquently other than to say that I'm sure you've heard about studies where the marathon runner is running the marathon in his head, but the body still experiences the same physiology changes as actually running the marathon. So it's the same with just thinking about. So that's what happens with a lot of post-traumatic stress disorders, is the brain gets stuck in the moment. And so you're turning on that fight or flight. It's like a fire in your amygdala, the emotional center of the brain, and the fire is consistently burning. It doesn't go out. And so your nervous system is constantly on edge. Your cortisol is constantly high. And so you're much more reactive to life because you're stuck in that emotion. Your body is experiencing it as if it is happening now. So what you're going to learn today is actually a really good antidote to all of that. You can reprogram your entire brain and nervous system. So now that we've put a spotlight on the different emotions that we feel throughout any given day, and we may experience all of those in one day, and that's okay. But what quadrant are you spending most of your time in currently? And again, I'm going to ask you to be really, really honest with yourself without self-criticism, because criticism is not constructive, right? We're here to shine a spotlight so that we can let love in and move forward. So where do you feel you're spending most of your time? And if you're brave enough, you might share it in the chat. Thank you, Samantha, for pointing that out, that when your cortisol is high and you're living those emotions, it makes it much harder for you to lose weight. I meant to speak on that. But it also disrupts your whole entire hormone system, which is why a lot of perimenopausal and menopausal women have such incredible grief with that time in their life. They're just so out of harmony. Yeah, Maxine, totally. Imagine eating something delicious that makes you salivate. I'm sorry to hear that, Shona. Grief and doubt, I know they can be very, very heavy feelings. And grief is actually something that I don't believe has a timeline. You know, different things can trigger a moment of grief. But what we can do is we can have these beautiful practices that we're going to do at the end that can let more love in so that you can experience more inner ease and acceptance around that. Doubt, I'm going to assume most women on this call can associate with doubt, frustration, procrastination. One of my frustrations is constantly juggling my desire in business with my values as a mother. That can actually create a lot of chaos for me, especially in the holidays. It's like, I feel like I get trapped in wasting so much energy of like, am I letting this down or am I letting that one down? Like wherever I put my focus, it's like I'm not doing well in the other area. So that's a space that I need to let light in on a daily basis. So where would you like to spend more of your time? Looking at that quadrant. For me, it's definitely the lower left. I personally don't believe in chasing too much. I think life needs to have the ebbs and flows, and we want to have the kaleidoscope because that's what makes life beautiful. And life would be very, very boring without that. But constantly chasing the highs means that you're going to experience more lows. For me, it's more just creating that equilibrium, that peace, harmony. I love that word. So throughout the day, one of your self-led empowerment skills that you can grow is the ability to catch yourself. So you may in the beginning want to set an alarm that alerts you multiple times in the day to become present to what you're feeling and thinking in your body. Like an energy checkup, where you can ask yourself, what quadrant am I orientating in right now? Because this skill of catching yourself and turning around the momentum, the better you get at that, the quicker you'll shift the trajectory of your whole life and what it is that you're attracting in, because you're emitting a frequency with these emotions that you consistently feel. You're projecting your energy into the field, attracting things back to you. So this is the part of manifestation that people miss. This is actually what manifestation is. And again, the goal is to spend more time in a beautiful state, to catch yourself, to identify, to choose how you want to feel, and then lead yourself there. And we can do this with our heart coherence tools, our heart brain coherence meditation that we're going to do at the end, which is literally 1 minute of your time. So I'm going to transition now to that part, how you can create inner ease when you're in a state of friction, how you can shift from depleting emotions to renewing emotions. So going from the left to the right. Heart coherence creates a cascade effect of neural and biochemical changes in your body that have that carryover effect, that increase your mental and emotional stability, that impacts your hormone production, that harmonizes your physiology, which then, of course, is going to harmonize your external environment because your energy is always influencing. When you're crabby and tense, what often mirrors back to you from your kids? Have you ever just had one of those days where you're like, what is up with these damn kids? I'm going to lose my damn mind, right? But then you actually, if you were honest with yourself, you realize they're mirroring you. That you woke up tense, you woke up frustrated, and they're just totally, yes, teen girls, this happens with my daughter. When our cycles align and I have less patience, she has less patience with me, and it's just like the emotional resourcefulness that is needed from both of us, right? It's so funny how we mirror each other. It's a perfect example. But the thing about our coherence in exactly this beautiful analogy is that our energy is influencing the people around us, right? I love this concept as well. Like, have you ever thought about how you actually share a nervous system in your relationship? I know when I can feel that my partner is tense, that starts manifesting as anxiety in me if I'm not conscious to become coherent, to be his strength in that moment. And vice versa for him. If I'm tense and he doesn't take a moment to be the anchor, then we start rubbing our tenseness off each other, right? Instead of being that team where the other is the anchor in that moment. We do this thing where we breathe together. You know, if I'm feeling just overwhelmed at the end of the day, I'll lay on him and he'll just breathe in sync with me. And that masculine, grounded energy just regulates my nervous system, which of course I can do myself, but it's enjoyable to do it with someone that you love as well. So what you want to be is the temperature of the room, not the temperature reader that is constantly impacted by the temperature in the room. I am from Perth, WA. I moved to the Gold Coast when I was in my 20s. And for a good solid 10 years, I resisted the idea of going home. It took me many years to understand why, but as soon as I would get back home, I would spiral into anxiety. And it's because my nervous system associated my hometown with just inner chaos. I never felt really, truly safe and regulated throughout my childhood and early adolescence. And so my whole nervous system associated that environment to that feeling. And it wasn't until I became an empowered, self-led, emotionally regulated, sovereign woman that I was able to hold my energy and be the influencer instead of the influenced. To be able to go home peaceful with inner ease and calm and hold that personal power and genuinely enjoy my time there. So when you as a woman can influence the emotional tone of your home, of your business, of your team, you're like the light, and not in a way where people are draining your energy resources. It gets to expand you. It gets to expand the people around you. You become so magnetic. The people want to flock to you because of how they feel in your presence. Now, the heart sends far more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. The heart is often called in the heart-brain coherence world, the second brain. And when we create renewing emotions, it expands the magnetism, the magnetic field of your heart. And this is often what we call flow state when we get heart-brain coherence. And flow state optimizes our performance, it builds resilience, it enhances our connections, it optimizes our decision-making, so we make decisions that are good for now and later, so that we say things in communication that are good for now and good for later. I believe that heart-brain coherence is where we align to our highest self. This is where we access truth. Only the heart is the knower of all things. When you're spiraling in self-doubt in your business and you take yourself out of the game because you don't believe that you can do this, do you think that you're living in your head or your heart? Your head, right? Your heart knows the truth. When you drop into your heart space, the truth is unlimited potential, unlimited possibility. But as women, we're living less and less from our heart space. We're becoming more and more masculine and living from our head. We get stuck in the do and we forget to just be, which is where we sit in truth, where we sit in inner ease, where we have emotional composure, where we're clear-headed, where we get to conserve energy, where we access our intuition. Our intuition isn't in the brain. Intuition is of the heart. That's where our wisdom resides. In those moments where you're reactive and you're spiraling into doubt, because doubt came up a lot in where you're currently living, and certainly if we relate to business right now in this call, if you were able to just center yourself and drop to your heart in a moment, in a 1-minute express tool, how would that shift your energy and how you're showing up in your business? Your habitual emotional set point that you're living from is your energetic signature. This is the undercurrent of energy that is running the show in your business, the blindfold that you wear in your relationship and your relationship to self, So knowing what your baseline is, what your default is essential, your familiar pattern, so that we can recreate that new pattern, so that we can optimize our baseline, so that we can consciously shift what we're feeding the field, what we're energetically communicating in our environment. Because remember, your heart has a magnetic field far more powerful than your brain that projects out from your body much further than your brain. An energy that can be measured scientifically. We are constantly broadcasting what we are feeling. And when we are centered, when we are coherent, not only do we become the influencer in the room, but we are far less affected by others' incoherence. The crabby teens, the terrible toddlers, the exhausted partners at the end of the day. The unresourceful team member doesn't trigger you. So we're going to practice a really simple coherence technique now. We're going to do it together. It's really simple that you're going to think that can't be it. Give me more. It can't be that simple. Profoundness can't be that. Profoundness is always simple, okay? So I invite you all to close your eyes with me right now, and let's just ground into this moment. If you can have your feet grounded, that would be beautiful. If you want to place your hand on your heart, if that feels good to you, I invite you to do that. And just start by taking some deep breaths in. I like to breathe in through my nose and sigh out through my mouth. It helps me to relax my body, but whatever feels good for you. And I want you to focus your attention as you're breathing in the area of the heart. Imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or your chest area. Breathing a little slower and a little deeper than usual. Find an easy rhythm that is comfortable for you. I like to imagine breathing in light through my heart. As you breathe in and out, I want you to activate and sustain a regenerative feeling such as appreciation or gratitude or care for someone or something in your life, or just a general sense of gratitude for your well-being in this moment. And when you have that feeling in your heart, I want you to radiate that new renewing feeling to yourself first. And then radiate that renewing feeling to others. And just take one last moment to sit in this glorious feeling, in your glory, in your divinity, and in the love that you are. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Did you feel an energy shift? Let me know in the chat what you guys are feeling. Imagine if you stopped in any tense moment and created this coherent state before responding, before that desire to react. How would this enhance your relationships? How would this optimize your communication? How would this expand your perspective? How would this let light in to your business, to your sense of self? Lighter, calmer, calm and lighter. When you think of that challenge that I called into question at the beginning, a life circumstance that is troubling you, perhaps you've been responding to that life circumstance from that resistance energy, from the head, from the suffering state. Now that you are coherent, now that you've let light in to your body and into your heart, perhaps there's a greater wisdom, a new perspective, a new truth, a new level of resourcefulness and resilience that is open to you now. And if not in this moment, I encourage you to go and sit with yourself and bring about heart-brain coherence, which, by the way, can be totally measured. And unfortunately, I'm not set up to show you this today, but we actually have technologies. I do this with our 7-year-old who doesn't have great self-regulation skills. And she asks to do this all the time. And you can literally see in real time the heart-brain coherence happen, the regulation of your nervous system. And understanding that that has a carry-on effect, that what we just did in 1 minute, you now have more DHEA in your system, which is going to upregulate your hormone production and harmonize how you feel today. And you can access that at any moment. You just have to have self-awareness. Absolutely, you can do it for as long as you like, but I want you to know you can do it in 30 seconds. When I went through the course for this, on the first day, I was just so underwhelmed, right? Because I'm like, there has to be more. Like, how much was this course again? But it just all makes sense. And it all makes sense with all the work I've done in India and the thousands of dollars and the thousands of miles of travel that I've done and all the things that I've learned can really boil down to this beautiful science. Simple language, simple techniques that are life-changing. But if you think it's too simple for it to change your life, it's not going to change your life. So I would love you guys, as we sign off, I would love for you to share your pivotal, the one aha, the one thing that you're taking away from this call. I want you to anchor it in and share it with others on this call, because your truth is going to resonate and give courage to other women and maybe be an enlightenment, a spotlight for others. Absolutely. Breath work is so powerful. I believe if every woman in this business could just access heart-brain coherence, they would go so much further in this business. They would get out of the head where all the negative noise is, and they would tune into the truth of who they are. Does anyone want to share? We create the atmosphere in our home and how we feel and how we choose to feel. 100%. So powerful. That knowledge changed my life. It changed my relationship with my kids, and I became a positive role model for them in emotional regulation from a very dysregulated, dysfunctional woman. Tonight, I came here to revive my Juice Plus business, and this training speaks to me so much. Heart-mind connection is powerful. I love that. Welcome back, Angela. Appreciate your guidance in this space. Beautiful reminder of how the power is within. Everything you need is inside of you. That's one of the mistakes, again, that people make in this business is, and it's great, definitely stay close to the fire. Definitely keep learning new strategies. But there's not a strategy that will work if your energy isn't aligned. You all have the same strategy. It's energy alignment that makes the difference. It's my belief, and what I say to hubby and daughter often is, you have a choice in every reaction. Beautiful, Mel. How we can be the temperature in the room and be aware of how we are feeling in this very moment instead of just reacting to the frustrations. There's a beautiful quote. I'm trying to remember who said it. Brendan Bouchard, I believe. And he says, bring joy through every door you walk through. And that's always in my vision statement, because I just love that reminder. Bring joy through every door. It's so easy to get up in the morning and get fixated on our problems that we need to solve and the things that we were annoyed about yesterday. You can reset that energy in a second. Be the joy. Be the influencer. I've been letting others' energy and negativity enter the space I create in my heart each morning, and I'll use this practice at work and home so I bring myself back into the lower left quadrant. Love that, Leanne. I need to increase my emotional credit score. Yes, that's the point, right? Let's make wiser investments. Plug the emotionally draining leaks. Take the time to pause, breathe, move into the heart. I always meditate when overwhelmed, but this is a beautiful way to give more light to others. Yes, that radiating outwards, I love that part. That really resonates with me. Know my triggers and do this exercise. Yes, do this before you have to have difficult conversations. Do this before you walk on stage for Juice Plus or get on a Zoom. When I think about the skills that I've, acquired in order to do these things that I feel fear around, I may not have had the conscious language about what I just taught you, but that's what I've done for years to be able to regulate myself in stressful moments. It's dropping into the heart. Take the time to pause, breathe, move into the heart. Yeah, I think I read that one. Know my triggers and do this exercise. That's what I was reading before or when I'm in the depleting emotion and attitudes. Be the temperature. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for joining me and for letting me try and crash course you on that. I hope that it made sense in the limited time that we had to do that. And yeah, I hope that you'll put it into practice. Set the alarm, start your day with it, end your day with it. Even if it's 10 seconds, just keep building on that self-awareness, build that muscle of being able to catch yourself and know that you always have the power to turn that momentum around. Thank you so much, ladies. Have the most incredible day.